Welcome to digital platform provided by Maharashtra State Board of Technical Education, and it is for the program Diploma in Medical Laboratory Technology for course Medical Bacteriology, and the course code is 24412. And in today's lecture we are going to deal with a very important topic, which is related to unit 4th, pathogenic bacilli. And the pathogenic bacilli we are going to deal, which is a gram positive bacteria. The gram positive bacteria today we are dealing with is Clostridium tetanium, which is a bacteria shows rod shape and gram positive in nature. This bacteria is most commonly found in the soil and rust iron particles. So to deal with today's lecture, we are going to discuss about the entire thing of Clostridium tetani, in that the Clostridium tetani, its morphology, cultivational characters and cultural characters of Clostridium tetani, then how this Clostridium tetani is able to infect, that is pathogenesis of Clostridium tetani, and in the final stage we are to deal with the lab diagnosis of Clostridium tetani. So the whole thing we are going to deal with is study of anaerobic bacteria, which is gram positive in nature, and a pathogenic bacilli. So before going to start, we are going to study with morphology of Clostridium tetani. When we look over the morphology, as we discussed, it is a gram positive bacteria. That means the peptidoglycan layer is present in the Clostridium bacteria, which is thick and it shows a violet color after staining. This bacteria is rod shaped, slightly curved, and the size range of the bacteria is 0.5 to 2 mm. When we look over the staining, it gives a drumstick like appearance. Why? Because the bacteria has ability to produce the spores. Spores are the rigid structure which can resist the harsh condition, and when the condition is favorable, from the spores new bacteria can generate. So a very specialized type of arrangement is seen in Clostridium tetani, is that it shows a drumstick like appearance. When we stain, means what? The spore is present at the terminal of the cell, which gives the cell a drumstick like appearance. The genetic information size ranges up to 8 million base pairs, and GC content 28%. This bacteria has also able to produce a toxin, and the toxin produced by this bacteria is mostly affect on the nervous system and muscular system of various animals, especially in mans. So Clostridium tetani, but another well-known bacteria which is well known for a very toxin producing organism also belong to this group, and the species is Clostridium botulinum. The Clostridium botulinum is a bacteria which produces the toxin which is highly toxic in world, and they also belong to this group only. So in such a way, till now we have discussed about the morphology of Clostridium tetani. Now we are going to deal with the cultural characteristics and cultivation method. So for cultivation of Clostridium tetani, we usually use the blood agar media, thioglossate media, casein hydrosalate media, etc. So in this media, the bacteria grows a well cultivation. Also this bacteria temperature required is about 37 degrees Celsius, and it is seen that the bacteria will grow at anaerobic condition with 37 degrees Celsius at the pH 7.4. It shows maximum growth, and in such a way they produces the colonies. So after seeing the cultural characteristics and cultivation method, we are going to see now the pathogenicity of Clostridium tetani. C. tetani, that is usually enters in the body, that is Clostridium tetani enters in the body with the wounds. When the wounds, that is when the skin is ruptured, the spores of this bacteria, that is Clostridium tetani, enters inside the wound, and they germinate from the spores in anaerobic condition, and they produces the toxin. The toxin produced by this bacteria is disseminated through the lymphatic system and also through the blood system and circulated toward the whole blood, which mostly affect the muscular system and CNS. It affect the peripheral motors of body, spinal cord, brain, sympathetic nervous system. Whole thing get affected by this toxin. So this toxin mostly interfere with the neurotransmitter, which is a most important part for muscle movement, that is the activity of contraction and relaxation. When it inhibits the neurotransmitter, this toxin which interact with neurotransmitter and contract the smooth muscle, also spasms get created, which is a identical feature of this disease, where there is a highly contraction of muscles and the whole body get contracted, very contracted, to form a D shape like structure, and hence this is a very chronic stage. So to know that, you must perform certain lab diagnosis techniques for identification of this bacteria, that is Clostridium tetani. So now we will see about what are the lab diagnostic method which is to be used for detection of Clostridium tetani. The Clostridium tetani is diagnosed firstly by the collecting the sample directly from the wound, because they proliferate, they enters in the body through a wound only. Also we can use the specimen for various method. If we dilute the specimen and gram stain, you will get the gram positive bacteria with a drumstick like appearance, which shows that the person is infected with the Clostridium tetani. Also these specimen can be isolated and cultured on the blood agar, where the beta hemolytic colonies and a zone of clearance is observed on the blood agar, which makes the confirmation of presence of Clostridium tetani in the specimen. Further, other methods can be also used to detect the Clostridium tetani, that is a deep agar shake culture, where you culture the colonies on the media, which gives you fluffy ball like appearance, which ranges from 1 to 3 mm in diameter, and made up of these colonies are made up of filamentous and radial arrangement. You can also use other media, that is Robertson cook meat broth. So this broth is used to identify the Clostridium, because this bacteria digests the cellular meat content, and hence it produces black, and prolonged incubation produces gas with turbidity, which says that the presence of Clostridium. Also certain biochemical test is used to detect the ability to ferment sugar, but it is to be seen that the Clostridium tetani unable to ferment the sugar, but it can produce indole from tryptophan, and MR and VP test is shown by negative, but it produces H2S gas. So in such a way, the Clostridium tetani is also cultured on McConkey's medium, which gives the colonies, and hence it is to be confirmed that from this test it is to be confirmed that lab diagnosis of Clostridium tetani. So why for this study is it essential? Because hence you must know that where the application of this concept which you have learned, that is Clostridium tetani, is to be used, that this pathogen enters into the body by cuts and wound, hence proper treatment of wounds must be taken, and also this bacteria is transmitted through surgical instruments, hence the instrument which is used for surgical and various operating for humans must be sterilized before use. In such a way, we have discussed detailed about the Clostridium, its morphology, cultivation characteristics, pathogenicity, and the lab diagnosis of Clostridium tetani. Thank you. Welcome to digital platform of education by Maharashtra State Board of Technical Education for the program name Diploma in Medical Laboratory Technique. Course is Medical Bacteriology, Unit number 4 and Unit Outcome 2, and in that we are going to discuss about the gram positive bacteria, that is a gram positive bacteria, Corynebacteria. So the Corynebacteria, which belongs to a gram positive group of organism, and to study that we need a concept map for Corynebacteria. For the Corynebacteria, we are dealing with firstly the morphology of Corynebacteria, what are the cultivation methods for Corynebacteria, the pathogenesis of Corynebacteria, and finally what are the laboratory methods which is to be used to detect the Corynebacteria. So stepwise, first let's discuss about the morphology of Corynebacteria. When we look over the morphology of Corynebacteria, so the Corynebacteria looks like a Chinese letter pattern, which is a cuneiform arrangement is been seen, that is its morphology. When we say about the English letter V, capital V or capital L like structure is seen by the Corynebacteria. So whenever you do the morphological characteristic study, and if you get the V or L like shaped bacteria which is is a gram positive violet color. It is confirmed that the bacteria you have been observed, that is a Corynebacteria, and the size of this bacteria ranges from 3 micron meter to 5 micron meter in length and 0.8 micron meter in diameter. These bacteria, also known as Klebsiella bacilli, which is a straight rod like structure, non-motile, club shaped arrangement, and it also ability to produce the granules, and the granules which it is to be produced, which helps it as a storehouse for energy. The Corynebacteria also has pili. When we look over the genomic size of this Corynebacteria, it ranges up to approximately 2389 genes, and the GC content is 53%. That means this bacteria is also able to resist certain denaturation enzymes or physical parameters. After morphology, we are going to discuss about the cultural characteristics of Corynebacteria. When we look over the cultural characteristics, they can tolerate high level of oxygen, but they are aerobic and facultative anaerobic. That means they can live on the presence of air also, and sometimes in anaerobic condition also they are sustained. The optimum temperature for their growth required is 37 degrees Celsius, and a very specialized media is to be used for the cultivation of Corynebacteria, that is Loeffler's serum slope media, and when they grown on this media, they produce a cream color colonies which is slightly raised from the colony center, and when we stain these colonies, it will observe that they are gram positive and also possess the granules when stained by methylene blue dye. So these are the cultural characteristics of the Corynebacterium. Now in the next section we are going to discuss about the pathogenesis of Corynebacteria. The Corynebacteria is spread by the droplets when a person is infected, and when it sneezes or coughs, it spread the bacteria by the droplets, and if a healthy person or immunosuppressed person is come in contact with it, it may got the infection. These bacilli can grow on mucous membrane or a skin also, and hence they releases a toxin. When this toxin is inserted into the circular system, that causes extensive organ damages. Certain neurological complications such as paralysis can also be caused to a patient when there is a severe infection to circular as well as nervous system. The most common death due to suffocation by aspiration of the membrane. So they also causes severe damage to brain, circular system, respiratory system, and hence this bacterial infection should be, or this bacteria should be early diagnosed in the patient and well treated. So this is the pathogenesis of the corynebacteria. So in the next we are going to discuss about what are the laboratory diagnosis method which is to be used to detect the corynebacteria. The first method is direct specimen staining. When a sample is drawn from the patient, suspected patient, so that should be directly stained. If we observe certain L or V like shape with granules, it is confirmed that that is a corynebacteria. For granule staining, we can use the Neisser stain or a methylene blue or the Albert stain method for granular staining, lab diagnosis of corynebacteria. So next, culture methods which is to be used for the diagnosis of corynebacteria. So for that you can use the three medias, that is Loeffler's serum slope media. When the sample is cultured on this media, you will get the white opaque observed on the plate. The colonies will be observed white color and opaque in the texture. That means it is a corynebacteria. If they are cultivated on blood agar, they show, the colony show the granular and grey with irregular edges of the colony, while on the Tyndall media the colonies will be appear in a grey black color. In such a way, the cultural methods can be used to diagnose the corynebacteria. But we also know that the corynebacteria is able to produce the toxin, and hence the toxicity, that is toxicity test or virulent test should be performed. So this virulent test can be divided into two types, in vitro and in vivo test. So for toxicity or a virulent test, subcutaneous test and intracutaneous test is a type in vivo method. In vivo means inside the body. So subcutaneous means, and intracutaneous, that is, you have to, first we will discuss about the subcutaneous test. So the subcutaneous test, what we are doing, the overnight cultivated organism from the Loeffler serum slope is subcutaneously injected into a mice, and the mice has been observed. If the death of the mice takes place in between 4 to 5 days or 7 days, it is confirmed that the Corynebacterium strain is to be a virulent. While in the intracutaneous test, it is seen that when the strain is intracutaneously injected into the guinea pig and incubated for 48 to 72 hours, if the necrosis appeared on the injected part, that confirms the Corynebacteria strain is virulent in nature. In vivo method, that is outside the body, the Olger's precipitation test and a tissue culture test and PCR test should be preferred to diagnose the Corynebacteria. So first we will talk about the Yelker's precipitation test. In the Yelker's precipitation test, the organism is used to be fused with the horseshoe serum against the Corynebacteria at the right angle, and if the precipitation occurs, there is a confirmation of Corynebacteria. Next, the tissue culture method. In the tissue culture method, the cell line of a known cell is grown on the surface, and if the bacterial is placed over the surface, the lysis of the cells occur due to toxin. It is confirmed that the Corynebacterial strain to be present. And finally, the PCR test used to detect the toxin gene should be present in the Corynebacteria. If the taxine, that is tax gene responsible to produce a that is Corynebacterium toxin, if the taxine is detected on the sample, it is said to be that the organism belongs to a Corynebacteria, and more specifically to Corynebacterium diphtheria. And the ELISA test is also performed to diagnose the toxin and antitoxicity test to diagnose the Corynebacteria. So in such a way, we have discussed about the morphology, the cultural characteristics, pathogenicity, and lab diagnostic of Corynebacteria, that is a gram positive bacteria. Thank you. Hello. Welcome to digital platform provided by Maharashtra State Board of Technical Education for the program Diploma in Medical Laboratory Technique for the semester 4th, and the course title is Medical Bacteriology. Course code is 24412. So we are going to discuss about the unit 4, that is pathogenic bacilli. The unit outcome for this of today's lecture is explain the morphology, characteristics, pathogenicity, and laboratory diagnosis of E. coli. The E. coli is a gram-negative bacteria. The full form of E. coli is Escherichia coli. So in the today's content, we are going to discuss about a gram-negative bacteria, that is E. coli. So when we look over the content, we are going to discuss about the morphology of E. coli, cultural characteristics of E. coli, pathogenicity of E. coli, and what are the laboratory diagnoses to detect the E. coli. What just now I told about, the concept map is regarding the E. coli. The E. coli, the whole E. coli morphology, cultural characteristics, pathogenicity and lab diagnosis we are going to discuss in this today's lecture. So learning objectives of today's lecture, that is to describe the morphology of E. coli, to know the cultural characteristics of E. coli. So you must know the pathogenicity of the E. coli, and finally what are the possibilities or what are the diagnostic method which are used to detect the E. coli in laboratory. Just now I told about the E. coli is a gram-negative organism. We are looking over the morphology of E. coli. The E. coli is a gram-negative bacteria which is a straight or rod-like structure, and it is motile through a part or an organ that is known as flagella, and this flagella is present all over the body. Such type of flagella is known as peritracheous flagella. Now the size of the E. coli ranges from, that is, it ranges from 0.6 to 0.7 micron meter in length, and the genomic size of the E. coli is approximately 4000 genes, and the GC, that is guanine to cytosine ratio of E. coli is ranges 39%. Now we will look after the cultural characteristics and cultivation methods for E. coli. When the E. coli is isolated from a known species on a known media, so it requires the temperature 10 to 40 degrees Celsius, and it has ability to ferment glucose, and also while utilizing glucose it produces acid. So the media which will be used as a selective differential for E. coli is McConkey's agar. We can say that McConkey's agar is a selective and differential media for isolation of E. coli. So after cultural characteristics and cultivation method, we are going to discuss about the pathogenesis of E. coli. The E. coli is usually transmitted from a raw food and water, that is non-potable water. It is transmitted mostly from cattle to human from a raw uncooked food. It is also transmitted through a water when it is contaminated with a fecal matter. The E. coli strain is usually harmless because they are commonly found in the lower intestine of warm blood organisms. But few species of E. coli causing enterohumerage disease, and which ultimately result in a very specific diarrhea which is called as bloody diarrhea. And the symptoms for this bloody diarrhea is seen in 2 to 5 days, and also a blood in the stool sample. The species which is responsible for bloody diarrhea is ECO, that is E. coli, EHEC, and not only the bloody diarrhea, but this E. coli is also responsible to cause urinary tract infection, which is most commonly seen in females. So, lab diagnosis of E. coli can be done by various methods. You can examine the stool sample, urine sample directly microscopy technique. You can directly go for gram staining, and if you observe a rod like structure, purple bacteria with a peritrichous flagella, we can directly say that the person is infected with the E. coli organism. Other further confirmation can be also done by cultural studies. So, the selective media which is used for E. coli is a McConkey's media. On the McConkey media, the unknown sample which you have been derived from the patient urine or from a stool used to be cultured on a specified media, that is McConkey's agar media. The colonies will appear on McConkey's media are dry, donut shape and dark pink in color, which confirms that the E. coli on the given sample. Certain biochemical test is also performed to detect the E. coli. The biochemical test which shows positive result by the E. coli are the sugar test, as it can utilize the sugar and ferment it and produce acid. Due to presence of flagella, it shows motility test positive. Indole test, MR test, VP test and citrate utilization test, the all tests are shown positive by the E. coli. Also, certain test is used to diagnose the E. coli, that is agglutination test. This agglutination test is done on slide as well as on agar media, where the antiserum of this E. coli is flooded to the colony, and if the agglutination shows on the agar plate or a slide, it is confirmed that the colony is said to be a E. coli. So, in such a way, we have discussed about what is the morphology of E. coli, cultural characteristics of E. coli, pathogenicity of the E. coli, and finally how lab diagnosis of E. coli takes place. So, overall study of this is essential to know that the E. coli, or finally what are the where the whole study of this lecture can be applied, or application of this concept in real life, that you must know that the E. coli causes the infection to human, a infection that is urinary tract infection to humans. The E. coli is also responsible for bloody diarrhea. If you not properly treat the E. coli in early stages, it may cause a severe chronic infection in humans, and the whole concept of the today must be taken that the E. coli is a commensal organism. It is found in the human, and proper hygienic condition must be maintained to avoid such type of infections. Thank you. Hello. So welcome everyone on the digital platform which is provided by Maharashtra State Board of Technical Education for the course Diploma in Medical Laboratory Technology, and the subject title is Medical Bacteriology, and the course code is 24412, unit outcome 04. And in today's lecture we are going to discuss about the bacteria, which is pathogenic bacilli, and it is different from the gram positive and gram negative bacteria, by means it is a acid fast bacteria. So we know that the Mycobacterium tuberculosis is the bacteria which causes TB disease in humans, and this bacteria is usually transmitted through aerosols. So in today's lecture we are going to discuss about the Mycobacterium tuberculosis. So we will study about what will be the morphological characteristics of Mycobacterium tuberculosis, cultural and cultivational characteristics of Mycobacterium tuberculosis. So pathogenesis of Mycobacterium tuberculosis, and from this whole thing we can easily diagnose, that is lab diagnosis of Mycobacterium tuberculosis. So we will start over the topic, that is morphology of Mycobacterium tuberculosis. This Mycobacterium tuberculosis is a bacteria which belongs to a group of family known as Actinobacteria. This Actinobacteria, in that group this Mycobacterium tuberculosis comes over. The size of the Mycobacterium ranges from 3 micron meter to 0.3 micron meter in size, and they can occur in a single state as well as in a small clump shape. This Mycobacterium tuberculosis has a speciality which makes the different and uniqueness from the other pathogenic bacilli, That is, the Mycobacterium tuberculosis consists of mycolic acid and arbenogalactan in its cell membrane, and hence due to this, these bacteria cannot be stained by Gram's solutions. Hence, it required a specialized type of staining method where the acidic stain and method is used. Hence, this bacteria is also known as acid fast bacteria. Likewise, in the bacteria of Mycobacterium, the outer layer is a waxy layer mimicking to the peptidoglycan. Hence, the cell wall of Mycobacteria plays a very essential role to resist most of the antibiotics, and hence it causes disease which should be cured if it is not diagnosed earlier. When we look over the characteristics of the Mycobacterium, you will see that this bacteria grows very slowly on the media. It required 14 to 15 hours for generation time, and the optimum temperature required for the growth is 25 degrees Celsius. The pH of the media, which should be range from 6.4 to 7. As it is a obligate aerobe bacteria, proper aeration conditions must be required for the growth of Mycobacterium tuberculosis. This bacteria can be isolated on and cultivated on Loeffler's serum slope media, which is to be used to isolate the Mycobacteria. On that, it shows a cream color colonies which is raised in the center, and metachromatic granules is stained with the using the dye, that is methylene blue stain. So in the such a way, you will observe that on the Loeffler serum slope media there is the raised cream color colony with metallic granules is seen over the media. This Mycobacterium tuberculosis, we have discussed about the morphology, cultivation and characteristics. After that, we will discuss about the pathogenicity. Throughout the whole worldwide, this Mycobacterium is causing a disease, and a causative agent of the disease is known as a tuberculosis. The bacteria transmitted or cause infection by the airborne way, and hence causes a maximum death over worldwide, which is caused by the aerosols of Mycobacterium tuberculosis. While the dose of 10 bacilli are dispersed when it is transmitted by sneezing and coughing, and hence from this the infection rate get high. But still there are certain cells, that is certain immune cells, monocytes nearby the blood vessels, bringing the granuloma and attempt to ward off the disease, and hence if they fail, then the mycobacterium shows a logarithmic एक log देख the logarithmic growth in the human and causes the lung infection and makes the person a disease from the tuberculosis. So we have discussed about the morphology, cultural characters and pathogenicity of Mycobacterium tuberculosis. So in the next we will discuss about the lab diagnosis of Mycobacterium tuberculosis to detect the organism. So the lab diagnosis of Mycobacterium tuberculosis, where the specimen is isolated from the sputum sample as well as cerebrospinal fluid and brought to the lab for diagnosis. So when you brought this, you can directly observe the microorganism by microscopic method. You have to stain the bacteria sample by Ziehl-Neelsen's stain technique, where the red bacilli are seen and the cylindrical straight curved rod with the barley beaded appearance, if present, it is confirmed that the person is suffering from Mycobacterium tuberculosis. But still, for the further confirmation, you must suppose to culture and study down the cultural characteristics of Mycobacterium tuberculosis. The media used is Lowenstein-Jensen media, where when you inoculate this sample, you will get a dry, rough, raised, wrinkle colony, which is commonly called as rough, tough and buff colonies on Lowenstein-Jensen's media. Certain other techniques are also there to diagnose the Mycobacterium tuberculosis, that is ELISA technique, where there is a rapid detection of the antibodies, specified antibodies against the Mycobacterium antigen, and for that you require the blood sample, and in such a way you can diagnose the Mycobacterium tuberculosis by microscopic, cultural and serological diagnosis method. But still the other methods are also there to diagnose Mycobacterium tuberculosis. For that, the biochemical test which is used is niacin test. Now what comes under the niacin test? In niacin test, the organism is grown when the 10% of cyanogen bromide and 4% of aniline in 96% ethanol is added on that grown culture. If you observe a canary yellow color, which indicates that the organism is a Mycobacterium tuberculosis. If such thing is not happened in the niacin test, which indicates that the given sample is not, or the person is not suffering from Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Again, various methods are there to detect, that is aryl sulfur test method, where when you grow the organism and when you add that organism with triphosphate phenolphthalein disulfate, and in that media if few drops of 2 normal NaOH is added and the color changes into pink, which indicates that the organism is Mycobacterium tuberculosis. So again the amide test is also used because the bacteria has ability to split the acidamine, benzamine, carbamine and nicotiniamine, which has ability to break down, is shown by Mycobacterium. In such a way you can also detect the Mycobacterium. For that you have to require the PPD, that is a purified protein derivatives of the Mycobacterium tuberculosis old culture, and this is injected into a hypersensitized person at several regions. If the inflammation and necrosis is shown, that means the person is showing the antigenicity, this is hypersensitivity against the organism. So in such a way various methods you have discussed about the detection of Mycobacterium tuberculosis. We have also discussed about the morphology, cultural characteristics, pathogenicity of Mycobacterium tuberculosis. So from this lecture you must know that the Mycobacterium tuberculosis causes respiratory tract infection in the humans, and hence if it is not diagnosed earlier and not treated earlier, it causes severe damage to health and sometimes lead for death also. Hence hygienic care and proper treatment should be done, because this disease is transmitted through aerosols particles. So in such a way we have discussed about the Mycobacterium tuberculosis whole laboratory diagnosis. Thank you. Hello, welcome to all of you to a digital platform which has been given by Maharashtra State Board of Technical Education, and the program name is Diploma in Medical Laboratory Techniques. So the course title is Medical Bacteriology, and in that we are going to discuss about the unit number 4th, that is pathogenic bacilli. So we are going to discuss about the pathogenic bacilli. In that we are going to discuss about the gram negative bacteria. So today's lecture we are going to conduct about the gram negative bacteria Salmonella. So when we look over the concept map, you will get that the Salmonella we are going to discuss about the morphology of Salmonella, then what are the cultivation methods, then how the Salmonella shows pathogenesis, a spread of Salmonella, and finally we are going to discuss about the lab diagnosis method which is used to detect the Salmonella. So let's begin. First, the morphology of Salmonella. When we look over it, first I told you that the Salmonella is a gram-negative bacteria, and this gram-negative bacteria whose size ranges from 2 to 4 micrometer to 0.6 micrometer in length. Like other gram-negative bacteria, this Salmonella bacteria is a non-capsulated and non-spore forming. Some bacteria are able to produce the capsule in gram staining family, but the Salmonella does not have ability to produce the capsule. It also lacks to form the spores. Now when we look over the genomic size of Salmonella, which comes about 5 million base pairs. So when we look over the flagella, so some species possess the peritrichous flagella, and the example for this is Salmonella pleurorum and Salmonella gallerineum, which lacks the peritrichous flagella, while most of the serotypes are motile in nature, but few of them are non-motile in nature. That means these two species, Salmonella gallerineum and Salmonella pleurorum, lacks the flagella. That means they are non-motile. When we look over next point, that is cultivation and characteristics of Salmonella. So what are the parameters which required for cultivation of Salmonella? So Salmonella grows very rapidly on a simple media, and the pH of that media should be 6 to 8. When we incubate the Salmonella on such media, it gives us the colony up to 2 to 3 mm diameter, which is a circular, convex and smooth in texture. Salmonella can also produce black colonies when it is grown on blood agar plates. For cultivation of Salmonella, the Hengton enteric agar is primarily preferred for cultivation of Salmonella. So this agar method or this agar is mostly used to identify the Salmonella species from contaminated food, waters and human stool samples. So Hengton enteric media is mostly preferred, which act as a selective and detective media for detection of Salmonella. Next point, regarding Salmonella, we are going to discuss about the pathogenesis. So this Salmonella is usually shows the pathogenesis to human when it is transmitted to human body by consumption of contaminated food and water, and hence it is transmitted rarely by direct contact. So most of the time it has been observed that the Salmonella is transmitted through contaminated food, and when the Salmonella enters into the body through contaminated food and water, they exhibit a gastrointestinal disorder. That is, they are causing infection to human being in gastric intestine, and if the infection is severe, they can enter into the bloodstream, and the situation is known as bacteremia. Bacteremia is a situation where the bacteria enters into the bloodstream. This Salmonella is also responsible to cause osteomyelitis, that is a pain in the bones, and septic arthritis, that is pain in joints. And in most severe cases, it is also observed that the Salmonella can affect the nervous system by causing a meningitis disease to human. When we look over what will be the diagnosis method for Salmonella, so lab diagnosis of Salmonella can be done by various methods. So the simplest method we are going to discuss about isolation of the specimen. So specimen which will be isolated from the patient must show certain symptoms, that is fever, diarrhea, and when the physician suggests to perform a Salmonella test, so mostly Vidal test is used, but few other tests are also important. So the first test, that is, first you must supposed to collect the specimen from the patient. So when we look over the sample, within 1 week, when the patient engulf or ingest the pathogen, it can be seen in the blood sample. In 2 to 3 weeks, this Salmonella can be observed in feces, while after 2 weeks, the Salmonella can be also seen in urine sample. So whatever sample you have collected, depending upon the duration of the infection, it can found in urine sample, feces, as well as it can also be found in blood sample. So what you are supposed to do? You are supposed to collect the specimen and perform the gram staining. And when you perform the gram staining, you will observe the gram negative bacteria. When they are observed, after that you must prefer to grow that organism on blood agar plate. When you grow that organism on blood agar plate, if it produce a black circular colonies, then it is to be confirmed that the organism is a salmonella. For further confirmation, you can also simultaneously use the Hankton enteric agar media for confirmation. Certain other microscopy examination can also be done of the fecal matter, because the fecal matter contains the macrophages. When the fecal matter contains the macrophages, it is confirmed that the patient is suffering from salmonella disease. And finally, the most preferred method to detect the salmonella is the serological test. And the serological test which is most widely used to detect the salmonella infection, that is a Vidal test. A Vidal test is a serum agglutination test where the H and O antigen of salmonella is used to detect the salmonella organism. So in such a way, you have discussed about the morphology of salmonella, the cultivation characteristics of salmonella, pathogenesis of salmonella, and what are the lab diagnosis method which is used to detect the salmonella. Thank you. Welcome to digital platform which is by MSBT, Maharashtra State Board of Technical Education, and the program course is Diploma in Medical Laboratory Technology. Course title is Medical Bacteriology. Course code is 24412, and in that we are going to discuss about the unit number 4th, that is pathogenic bacilli, which is the final topic of unit outcome 1, and we are going to discuss about an organism, that is a Vibrio cholerae, which is a gram negative bacteria. So in this we are going to discuss about the Vibrio cholerae. The concept map which you have on the screen, which shows about the study of morphological characters, cultivational characters of Vibrio cholerae, pathogenesis of Vibrio cholerae, and what are the laboratory diagnosis method which is to be used for the detection of Vibrio cholerae. So when we look over the morphology of the Vibrio cholerae, the morphology of Vibrio cholerae is very specialized, that first of all it is a gram negative bacteria. Secondly, the most ununique type of morphology which has been seen in this Vibrio cholerae is that the shape of the Vibrio cholerae appears under the microscope, which seems to be a rod shape, but it will be like a comma in shape or comma in nature. Hence The comma shape is most uniquely characteristics of Vibrio cholera bacteria. When we further detail discuss about the morphology, this Vibrio cholerae is a non-spore forming bacteria, and it is also a non-capsulated bacteria, that is, it is unable to produce the spores, also unable to produce the capsule. The size ranges from 0.36 to 0.4 micron meter in diameter and length 2.7 to 3 micrometer in length. The genomic size ranges up to 4 lakh base pairs in it. Next we are going to discuss about the characteristics, that is cultural characteristics of Vibrio cholerae and what are the cultivation methods which is utilized to cultivate Vibrio cholerae in lab. So this Vibrio cholerae is a facultative anaerobe, that means it can be survive in presence of oxygen or absence of oxygen. It requires oxygen, it can sustain in presence of oxygen as well as absence of oxygen, but mostly they are anaerobic organism. They prefer anaerobic condition. So the temperature ranges for the optimum growth is about 16 to 40 degrees Celsius, and maximum growth it has been shown at 37 degrees Celsius. They also require alkaline media for maximum growth, and the pH should be 6.4 to 9.6. For specialized cultivation in lab, the Vibrio cholerae should be cultivated on TCBS agar, that is thiosulfate citrate bile sucrose agar, on which when this Vibrio cholera is cultivated, they gives you a yellow colonies are readily visible against the dark greenish background on the agar plate. So for lab diagnosis also, this TCBS agar can be used for diagnosis of Vibrio cholerae. When we look over the pathogenesis of the Vibrio cholerae, you will get that in the old periods, or we can say in the history of world, most of the pandemics is through the cholera disease, as this cholera disease is transmitted by contaminated water and food. When such contaminated water and food is eaten by the person will get infected and it causes a diarrhea. A specialized type of diarrhea is found to be with Vibrio cholera infection, that is a profuse rice water stool followed by a rapid dehydration after incubation of 6 to 3 hours in humans. Meanwhile, vomiting is also there. So this happens because the cholera causing organism produces a toxin which is a cholera toxin, also known as cholera enterotoxin or choleragen, which averagely reduces 15 to 20 liter loss of fluids from the human body. Hence, the patient drastically dehydrated when the Vibrio cholera infection gain to the human. For lab diagnosis of Vibrio cholerae, there are various methods. For diagnosis of Vibrio cholera, you must collect the patient stool as well as a sample from the patient in a mouth bottle air fit container and bring it to the lab. After bringing, the sample must be diluted and directly gram stained, and we know that the Vibrio cholera is a gram negative curve rod bacteria. When they are observed, it is said to be that the patient is affected from the Vibrio cholera infection. Next method for further confirmation, cultural method, where TCBS and McConkey's agar media can be also used. Most preferably TCBS media, because this media is alkaline and hence the Vibrio cholerae grows fastly, while this alkaline condition inhibit the enterobacteria. Hence, it inhibit the gram positive bacteria. On the McConkey's agar, the colonies will appear purple color, while on TCBS media, the colonies will be yellow in color. Other methods for detection of cholera, that is a string test. So this string test is going to be held on a glass slide. We require a glass slide, and you also require 0.5% sodium deoxychlorate solution. So what you have to do, you have to take that solution and place a loopful of colony on the glass slide and mix gently. Ultimately, if it produce a mucoid and vintage with a wire loop string, it shows that it is a Vibrio cholerae. That means a fine string and mucus structure, when it is present when the colonies contact with 0.5% sodium deoxychlorate solution. Next test which is used to determine The cholera is the cholera red reaction where the peptone broth inoculated suspension of 24 hours. If you add a drop of sulfuric acid, then it turns into a red test. That means the given strain is a Vibrio. In simple way, whatever the sample you have been selected or isolated from the patient, you must supposed to inoculate in a peptone broth for 24 hours. Along with, you have to add few drops of concentrated sulfuric acid to the flask, and after 24 hours when you look over it, if there is a presence of red color on the flask media, it is confirmed that it is a cholera red positive reaction, and hence we can say that the person is affected with cholera infection. So application of this concept, you must know that Vibrio cholera causes foodborne infection in humans, also responsible for a specialized type of dehydration, that is profuse rice water stool followed by rapid dehydration. If this diagnosis of Vibrio cholerae is not earlier has been taken, it may lead to severe chronic infection and may lead to death also. For that, you must use a hygienic condition and avoid contaminated food such as street food, etc. So in such a way, we have discussed about the morphology, cultivation characters, pathogenesis and lab diagnosis of Vibrio cholerae. Thank you.